Hey y'all, this is Kara Marie coming to y'all today with another motivational moment. Listen, today I'm in mommy mode and I am upset. Now, I want to talk to y'all today about a book that I've written, and the name of the book is called Break Free. And it's called Break Free: Escaping Financial Manipulation and Abuse. Now, I was in an abusive relationship, and when I was in this relationship, this was a romantic relationship. And, I suffered from not only physical abuse, but all other forms of abuse and manipulation as well, especially financial abuse. And this person kept me in such a state where I couldn't work or I couldn't do anything. And I really couldn't leave home. I couldn't do my own shopping. I couldn't do anything for myself. I had to depend on him for everything, and he wanted it that way, and that kept me where I couldn't escape, where I couldn't move on without him. And so, I've been, that being in that relationship caused me not to want to be, it caused me to want to be independent. So when I finally was able to escape that relationship, I got my own job and I started making money for myself. And I would not even depend on men for anything, because I felt like when you depend on people and they're your only source, then they begin to abuse and manipulate the situation to better them. And so I didn't want that. So from that point on, it was early on in my life. It was young when it happened. And so I said, I'll never let another man take care of me. I'll always make my own money so that when things get rough, I can move on. So, I did that was I was young then, but now I'm older. And so I started writing a lot of little self-help books and things. And so I wanted to, I was so focused on the violent abuse, the physical abuse and other types of abuse, that I had almost forgot about the financial abuse that keep you, in bondage. And so I got to thinking about it. And I said, well, I'm just going to write the book, because yes, financial abuse is a part of it, because people, men, guy, people, women, anybody with money will lord that over you. And if they want to manipulate and keep you up under their thumb, they know how to do that. So I'm sitting up here and I'm writing this book. I said, oh yeah, let me write this book right quick. So I broke free, and as I was writing it, and my son had been talking to me for a while, for over the past 4 years. But I was like, wow, he started working for this company. Now I'm writing this book about financial abuse, and my own child is being abused, and I didn't know it. And so I remember he started working for this trucking company about 5 years ago, and he was like, "Well, I want to buy my own truck and I want to be an owner operator." But I was already in a relationship at that time with someone who was an owner operator, and it really wasn't a good deal unless you really just rich. Being an owner operator just really, you can barely. Sometimes he didn't even have a paycheck, so he was like, "No, don't be a owner operator. Be a company driver." So, but anyway, he just wanted to do what he wanted to do, and I understand you want to dream big, and so he went and signed up with this company, and they told him, you buy this truck, and then you're on operator. So he bought the truck, and he signed all the paperwork and stuff, and he bought the truck, and they took out $800 a week out of his check. Plus he had to pay his escrow, and he had to pay for fuel, and he had to pay for all these different things in his truck. So he finally paid the truck off, and he's been asking the man for years, where is my title? I've paid the truck off. He showed where he paid the truck off, all this, where's my title? And so the man kept making excuses, making excuses. So when my son would send him an email or whatever about the title, he said, I'm gonna get that title for him, get the title for you, but he never would get it. And so finally, but my son noticed that every time I write him, he pick up the phone and call me. He never make a paper trail. He don't want anything said on done on paper. So finally, my son, he was charging, for old tolls, and every time my son would go to work for him, every time he get a paycheck, he would take out all these fees. Oh, you owe for fuel, you owe for everything that got anything to do with owner operator. He charged him for everything, from tolls to everything. So my son would make $4,000 that week, and he'll end up with $700 or 600. So this past couple of weeks, my son, he was sitting with me and he was upset, and I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well, the boss didn't pay me but $400. He said I owed all this." So, but my niece, she worked for the same company, and she's an owner operator, and so she was complaining too. And so my son, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't rest, so I got all the paperwork together. I said, "Son, email me everything." So he emailed me everything, and come to find out, my son not only he don't own the truck, He never owned the truck. The guy never intended to sell him the truck. He tricked my son into thinking that he was buying the truck, made him pay $800 a week for years to pay the truck off, then turn around and have my son paying for fuel. He never sold the truck to my son. And then he forged my son's name on paperwork. Now we found the paperwork showing that my son is not even the owner of the truck. The truck is based in some other town, and the man is the owner of the truck, and his other partner, they're the owners of the truck and all that. And my son is a designated driver. So here's what he's been doing. He's been made my son pay for his truck, make him pay for all the repairs of the truck. I mean, thousands and thousands, over $40,000 in repairs for the truck. He had my son paying for all the fuel, all the tolls, all this stuff. He misclassified my child as an owner operator when he was not an owner operator. Then when it was time for him to give my son the title to the truck, we took the thing to the DMV. None of that stuff is in my son's name. So then he got a piece of paper. He forged my son's name to this one piece of paper. He's been taking out loans in my son's name and then making my son pay him back for the loan. So, oh, well, you don't have enough money in your escrow to fix this truck, so we got to take out a loan and you got to fix this a truck he never owned, never have owned. And he misclassified my son as an owner operator instead of a driver. So he got my son a driver paying for everything as an owner operator who don't even own the truck, don't own the company, don't own nothing. And then so that last week he gave my son he showed, and he's writing in this stuff. He's not showing my son the real paperwork. He's giving him written stuff, writing stuff in. And so I was like, well, you know what, son, I looked at it, I said, oh, this is wrong. So we started contacting all the necessary people. But in the meantime, my son just quit. And the man he been harassing everybody looking for him. Where's he? Yeah, he owe me money. He owe me money. No, he owed my son money. And we saw all these, I said, oh, he owed my son almost $200,000. And I told my son, whatever you do, get away from that dude. Get away from him now. And he is running, the company is run under several different names, under several different states. We looked up everything, and I mean, we could not believe the crimes that this man has actually done. And he's charging his drivers for tolls. Oh, you owe a toll from 2004. You owe a toll. He do anything he can to keep from paying them their money. And he lied to them and tell them they owe. Then he give them a piece of paper where he's written in all the stuff that's owed to him. But he is really just robbing all of his drivers. And so when I saw that, I told my son, when we realized the way that and then when my son quit, he'd send him a letter. He said but he didn't tell him what all we knew. We just sent him a letter letting him know, he got to find another job because he's not making enough money. But he didn't tell him what we were doing on the other side. So we started contacting all these agencies, the IRS. I mean, he is the labor board. Wages, his theft wages, and I mean, he forged my son's signature. Here's all the stuff he's done. It's wage theft and escrow misappropriation. He's saying, my son owed this and he didn't. He don't show any receipts. He has no receipts, no accounting, no nothing. He deducting toll, fuel, repairs, PM services. Charges, but he don't have any dates, any receipts or anything. He is FMCSA, Truth in Leasing Regulations, alleged fraudulent truck payments, entitled withholdings. I mean, he misclassified. He treating drivers as owner operators for financial purposes, and he deduct owner level expenses required truck drivers pay for fuel, repair, tolls, and maintenance, which I already mentioned, and he withhold the pay without explanation. And he'll tell, oh, you owe. Oh, and then my son was like, well, what do I owe? Well, you owe old told you. He can't really do it when he tried to figure out what he owed. But what he been doing is just robbing all of his drivers. I don't know how many he been robbing, but I know I've had several other people complaining as well about it. And so then my niece sent me some of her paperwork because, see, my son got her on where he worked. And she wanted to be an owner operator too, and he been robbing her too. And so she sent me a piece of paperwork, you know what I'm saying, showing that she owe old tolls. And it's like, wow, this company is really it's a trip. So I just want you guys to be aware of what's going on, because he's kept my son under his thumb for 4 years, promising that title, never got the title, making him pay for the whole everything he was doing. We looked up, he owed my son almost $200,000, and he still won't give him the truck. And it don't show that my son owned the truck. There's no paperwork showing that my son owned the truck. And I'm like, son, where is your paperwork? What's what? And so yeah, it's been a trip to see this. So anyway, my son finally quit that company, but I just kind of want you all to be aware of, financial manipulation and abuse. It happens even in relationships, but also in companies. You know what I'm saying? He kept my son under. My son couldn't go nowhere because he was like, well, maybe next week I can get enough, pay this, pay. And my son has family. He has children. You know what I'm saying? He can't just be working, letting this man, my son made $4,000 last week before last, and he gave my son a $400 check. And my son was depressed. He was upset. He was like, Mama, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, wait a minute, what? And he said he still won't give me and he been telling me and his dad, his stepdad, he's like, well, he won't give me. And we've been trying to get the title to the truck for the past 2, 3 years. And it just depressed me. And I was like, you know what? I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to let him handle this. But when I thought about what he was doing to my boy, I was like, oh, so we had to call all the necessary people. It's so many different agencies and filing complaints and police reports and things like that. So yeah, be aware of the of what they're doing. Make sure you look at your paperwork well. And we got paperwork where they signed my son's signature, and my son's signature has been the same since he was in high school. And they went and signed his name to paperwork that wasn't even his, and he don't even own the truck. And they treating him like they're treating the driver, and to stole robbed him of everything and made him pay for a truck they never intended to give him. Thousands of dollars on this truck, $800 a week to pay off a truck. So, but anyway, I just want you guys to be aware that financial abuse is not just in romantic relationships, but it's in other, work relationships and friendships and everything else. Anything that people can do to use to keep you under their thumb, where they, keep manipulating you, where you have to stay in a place where you can't move on. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like in the old days. You know what I'm saying? In the sharecropping days. When they come around and tally up the wage. Oh, we owe for this, you owe for that. Now they keep you in a prison. You know what I'm saying? So no, well, I just want you guys to be aware that it's not just in relationships, men, women, whoever keep to hold the purse strings and keep you from going anywhere. And they dangling the money in your face like, okay, well, maybe next week you'll square away. Maybe we'll get you right. And he never intended on it. And now he's angry at my son. Now he's running around lying saying my son owed him money. And we got all the paperwork showing what he done did, with all the laws he done broke, not just on my son, but on other people's stuff too. So, but anyway, you guys watch out, especially for that driver lease, owner lease program. They say it's one of the biggest scams in the trucking industry. One of them. I don't know how many more it is, but I'm telling you, I got all this stuff right here. I got my son. My son kept good records. Thank God he did. Thank God he did. Yeah, he kept good records. But anyway, y'all have a good day, and I will talk to y'all soon. All right, see you soon. Bye bye.